Welcome to the world of sci-fi stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. Humans and their ridiculously large spaceships. The Terran Union. The humans have been in the Galactic Confederate Alliance for 1,000 cycles. When they entered, they had just discovered FTL travel. They were the third mammalian species accepted into the Council out of dozens of other primarily reptilian species, including my kind, the Melons. Their technology was primitive, and like our two other mammalian allies, we thought we had to invest a great amount into getting them up to date. But after a while, it began to be apparent that it was unnecessary. The humans had a way of quick adaptation. They embraced the new technology quickly, even quicker than some of the more advanced species in the Council when they were first accepted in. Not only did they adapt, but they had improved upon the same technology. Their culture was strange. It was an amalgamation of thousands of languages and countless traditions. Humans came in many shapes and sizes, which was a novelty to behold to the galactic community. At first, we had thought there were multiple species that lived in symbiosis together, but we were proven wrong. Humans gave the galactic community plenty, but one of the greatest things that they gave us was courage, bravery, and boldness. They were prolific warriors. They fought till the bitter end, even when their tech was not nearly as advanced as the enemy. They fought and won in spite of the odds on many occasions. But the story I shall tell you is personal to me, deeply personal. 500 years ago, the GCA was at war. In that war, humans did show great combat capabilities, but soon they would outshine not only our warriors but our admirals, captains, and engineers. 500 years ago, the Terran Union, alongside other allies, had been cut off from the supply lines that limited both imports and exports. Vast fleets of haulers were destroyed, and countless lives and immense amount of resources and weapons crucial for the war effort were lost. Many Malin, Barian, and Fenian engineers, alongside many other species, had been present at the human shipyards, helping and aiding human engineers in building fleets of military and transport ships. After the lines had been cut, the Council recommended that the shipyards in the Sol system focus on building smaller but faster haulers, since they had to take a longer route to reach their destination. Those routes were still extremely dangerous, and the haulers would still require escorts. The human government and the human engineers had another idea, not a fleet of ships, but a single one. We thought they were insane. There was no way they could build a ship large enough in a quick enough fashion. But humans surprised us yet again. Shipyards in Seoul worked at the double. The entire industrial might of the Terran Union was used for a single ship. They gambled everything into that single ship, and it was supposed to be a simple hauler. It was commissioned in 20,565, and in 2 years minus 2 years, they finally put the final piece into the Titan. It was the biggest functional vessel ever built since records began. It was able to carry anything from people to weapons and fuel, effectively anything. And they had designed an ingenious way of extending cargo holds for any specific resource if need be. It had a cargo capacity that put entire fleets of mass haulers to shame. It was also fitted with a massive amount of weaponry, and the crowning achievement which powered the ship, its engine. With its dimensions of 839 meters in height, 1,230 meters in width, and 10,230 meters in length, and crew of 100,000 men and women, the vast majority being human, she was christened according to old human tradition of throwing a bottle of wine. When the bottle hit, we watched as the Titan set out into the void. Everyone present, especially the representatives from other species, could do nothing but watch in awe as its massive engine roared to life. Even in the vacuum of space, everyone could feel the indescribable aura of power the grand hauler gave off. She was named after an old seafaring oil tanker, which was the biggest vessel ever built at the time. On the 20th of September of 2567, she was christened as the Northumbria. The Northumbria was filled to the brim with resources, weapons, soldiers, foodstuffs, industrial goods, among other things, and then it set off into the void. The countless stories from the vessel are told across the galaxy to this day, the fear it struck into the enemy, the legends of it emerging from the warp and scaring the enemy admirals into submission, how its many railguns cut down smaller enemy fleets with ease, and how Northumbria's errands into war zones saved countless millions, even billions, from certain death. The last part is what I'm going to tell you, for if it were not for the Northumbria, I would have never been born. It was 5 years into Northumbria's service. She was tasked with a medium priority errand to a Fenian system, when tragic news came from a Malin agricultural planet, Calcat. The Malsan planet was attacked and devastated. The new weapon of mass destruction from the Clamar Empire was used on the backwater planet, a massive laser weapon which would destabilize the planet's core. A planet killer. They used it to lower morale in the Allied armies and decrease the food supplies of the Alliance. The news came to Marshal Hugh Agnew, the captain of the Northumbria, a now grizzled veteran of war and an experienced sailor of the vast blackness of space. He had sworn an oath when he was admitted in the military. He had sworn to protect the citizens of the Alliance. He had sworn to bring rescue to those who needed it most. And after contemplation, he shouted an order that would cement Northumbria, its crew, and its captain into the annals of history. Set course for Calcat. The crew froze, but they heeded the words of their captain. They dumped almost all of the cargo, save for the food and other necessities. What they did was mutiny, and it bordered on treason, but Marshall, as the human saying goes, did not give a damn. The Titan warped into the Calcat system. The Alliance saw the planet as a lost cause. They couldn't spare any resources on a rescue operation, and the Clack fleet had retreated from the system, leaving only a few small patrol vessels who were easily destroyed or routed when the Northumbria came. Calcat burned, its core ready to explode at any minute. The first stop was the space station above, badly battered but still functional at some places. They found mostly corpses and a few survivors who were brought in. Captain Marshall brainstormed how to bring as many people up to orbit to the ship, but it was impossible. There were not enough small vessels on the ship. There was no infrastructure on the planet left. The captain was afraid that Calcat truly was a lost cause. The crew was silent, as were the few survivors of the space station. Marshall watched as a Malkan male watched with sadness and desperation onto his home world, where his family is now either dead or soon will be. Marshall thought what he would do if this was Earth or Mars. Humans are sometimes described as being insane but effective. This case was no different, but now, even to this day, the biggest human daredevils aren't nearly as insane as Captain Marshall. The Northumbria had anti-grav capabilities. They were implemented just in case, but it was thought impossible to land the Titan onto a planet and then leave. It was theoretically possible, but it was never meant to be done. But Marshall and his army of subordinates did it. He issued the order that they will land, having just enough altitude off the ground as to lower the ramps. My parents had told me, when they feared death the most, they saw the skies darkened. The sun was blocked, and through the clouds emerged a gigantic mass of steel. They had thought the gods have come to take them to heaven, but the humans came to take them to safety. The ship's anti-grav implemented into the vessel strained under the weight of the ship, but it held. Hundreds of ramps lowered, and the survivors flocked inside. The captain sent a message out to anyone on the planet who still had some mode of communication to let them know that help is on the way. After all the Melon survivors in the area entered the cargo holds, some of them not meant for habitation, the Northumbria rose once again and landed onto another location, lowering its ramps once again, 52 times. It lowered those ramps 52 times. At each moment, the planet strained. Earthquakes rattled the surface. The Earth itself opened. After a while, the cargo holds were filled, but they still had time. Even the massive hangars couldn't fit the masses of Malkan refugees, families, widows, widowers, orphans. There was still time, but no space. Marshall couldn't decide, neither could the crew. But then volunteers started coming forward. They were going to leave the ship to make space for the Malsan. From humans to other species and the minority of Malin crew members, 5,000 crew members who deemed themselves non-essential volunteered to go onto the planet for the last time. The 52nd time the ship landed, the ramps lowered, and the crew exited to the surface, making way for 5,000 more Malkan survivors. The Northumbria once more lifted from the dead world. Those who they couldn't save watched in sadness and despair, and 5,000 crew members stood beside each other, saluting to the ship and their captain for the last time, making the ultimate sacrifice for their cosmic brethren. 623,756 Malsan were saved thanks to the efforts of Captain Marshal Hugh Agnew and his crew. Only hours later, the planet of Calcat was no more. Today, I am on Earth. After nearly 500 years of service, both in war and peace, the mighty Northumbria is being decommissioned due to the state of disrepair. She will become one of the biggest museums in the galaxy. I came to see the vessel that saved my parents' life before my birth. Even though my species has long lifespans, we are not immortal. My parents had been long dead, and I myself was coming near my end. I was not alone. Thousands of descendants of the survivors of the Calcutta tragedy came to pay respects to the humans that served back in those days, as well as see the ship they commanded. Inside one of the immense cargo holds stood the crew. On the walls were written names of the 5,000 brave men and women who gave up their lives to save another. The huge crowd consisted of the now much smaller crew than 500 years ago. It was still a large number nonetheless, 25,000. Among them were 10,000 descendants from the Malsan survivors and many representatives from countless species, here to witness a historic moment in human, nay, galactic, history. The last captain came to a tall stage. Affixing the microphone, he began his speech. His voice permeated the massive room as the countless speakers helped his voice come to every one of the people present. After the emotional speech, many were in tears, but one thing I shall never forget. The captain started to bang the podium in rhythm. Then he began singing. As soon as he came to the chorus, the crew sang alongside their captain. Roll, Northumbria, roll. Many non-human visitors were dumbfounded, but soon enough, though our mouths and vocal cords can't imitate some sounds that humans can create, we sang, all 35,000 of us. And it's 1 for the hot sun above, 2 for the empire we love, and it's 3 for the fire that burns down below. Roll on, Northumbria, roll. Northumbria, roll.